Hello, my loves. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome in to this video for the solar shift into Sagittarius. So first things first, if you are new, hi, welcome in. It is wonderful to have you here. What we're going to be doing is talking a little bit about astrology, and then we are going to be using our own astrology, learning about it, and then tapping into the spiritual tools of the oracle cards to get guidance on how to best utilize our personal astrology during this season. So if this is your first time here, you may want to go watch my tutorial video on how to get the most out of these readings. It is not necessary, but it's a tool there for you if you want to know how to engage with this material in a deeper way. For those who are not new, hello, welcome back. It is so wonderful to have you guys here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a pleasure for me to offer this support in this way. It brings me so much joy, and I hope you guys all know how much I truly love you, care for you, and am excited for your journeys. If you want to support me, there's many ways you can do that. Just engage with this material. Share it with people you think it will align with. You can also comment on it and let me know what is resonating for you, what questions you have. You can also donate if you feel inspired at paypal.me/devotedvulnerable. Link is in the description. And you can go to my website, devotedandvulnerable.com/services. Link is in the description if you want to learn more about the services that I offer. I offer card readings, I offer guided meditations, I offer a bunch of different other things, so go there and check it out if you feel called. No pressure. With all that being said, let's jump into Sagittarius season. I'm so excited to bring this energy to you guys. Sagittarius is my favorite sign. I am totally biased. I am a Sagittarian sun. I'm a Mercury Sagittarius. I'm a Saturn Sagittarius, and I'm a Uranus Sagittarius. So I am quite Sagittarian in my astrological makeup. Don't worry if that didn't make sense to you. Basically, I have a lot of Sag energy. So let's talk about what a solar season is. A solar season is when the sun, the spotlight of our solar system, is in a particular sign. The solar season of Sagittarius will start on November 22nd when the sun moves into the sign of Sagittarius, and it will last until December 21st, until the solstice, when the sun will then move into the sign of Capricorn. So during this solar month, and I will refer to this as the month as we go through these readings. So please understand when I say this month, I do mean solar month, November 22nd to December 21st. We're going to be focusing on the Sagittarian energy, the Sagittarian archetype. So your readings are going to be based on where Sagittarius shows up for you in your chart. Essentially what planets, the sun, the moon, and or your rising sign exist in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, if you do not know what planets and aspects you have in the sign of Sagittarius, do not worry. This is part of what we do here in these readings. We learn about our astrology. To get caught up with your own astrology, to get access to your own chart, to know how to read it and find out what planets are in this sign, watch my tutorial video. I have this tutorial video created for how to find your birth chart information on astro.com. Link is popping up here, and it is also in the description if you want to go and enter in your birth data to that site. And you do need to know your birth time in order to access this information. So go ahead and watch my how to find your birth time tutorial to get caught up on how to find your birth time so that you have something to work with the chart generator. So we're going to be spotlighting the sign of Sagittarius by finding out what planet, the sun, the moon, and or the rising sign is in Sagittarius. You will watch the readings and the explanations for every single planet that you have in Sagittarius. So for example, I mentioned that my sun's in Sagittarius, so is my Mercury, so is my Saturn, and so is my Uranus. So technically I have 4 readings this month because I have 4 planets in the sign of Sagittarius. I know that might be a lot of information for you, but this is when the sun, the spotlight of our galaxy, is really highlighting these elements and aspects of your life. So it's really fun to dive into how this is showing up in your life, how this archetype may be expressing itself through you, through the planets. I'll describe in each video what the planet in the sign of Sagittarius really means before I dive into the reading and the advice. If you do not have your sun, the moon, your rising sign, or any of the planets in the sign of Sagittarius, there's a video for you called Background Sagittarius. I'll explain in that video what that means, but you can watch that video if you don't have any of those aspects. So a little bit more about Sagittarius. You want to look at your Sagittarian suns for this entire month as well. Watch how they shine. Watch how they act during this time. So anyone with a birthday between November 22nd and December 21st, I call it spying on the solar sign, so that you can really learn more about this energy. The Sagittarian archetype is the archetype of the archer. And the archer has this bow and arrow that it's aiming. And what is it aiming at? It's aiming at anything it wants to. But the thing that Sagittarius loves to aim at the most is truth. We love to aim at truth. Truth is one of our favorite things to aim at. It is essentially the energy of this archer and or centaur. So we can be adventurous. The Sagittarian sign is adventurous, congenial, which means likable, dreamy, very, very idealistic, very, very focused on what it is that we are wanting in our lives. We are optimistic. We're always looking at the positive side of things, and we are intellectual. So I say we because, yes, I am in the Sagittarian archetype, but this is going to show up somewhere in your life as well. So it refers to you as well, no matter where it shows up in your chart. So the modality of the Sagittarius, meaning the way that this energy expresses, is through the modality of what's called mutable. You see the little arch with the dot underneath it up there. And that's the symbol for mutable. Mutable signs are always the signs that happen during a change in seasons. So in the Northern Hemisphere, Sagittarius happens between the change from fall to winter. It's not quite winter yet, and fall's kind of winding down. And so the energy of the Sagittarius is very changeable, mutable, very adaptable. It's constantly shifting. The element of the Sagittarius is fire. It's represented here by the triangle. The triangle is the flame going up towards the sky. And so the element of fire represents the spiritual world, the spiritual realm. So when we put those two together, we have this changing spirituality. That is a lot of the essence of the Sagittarian archetype. Not only are we focused on truth, you have to be a seeker of knowledge in order to gain this truth. Through adventure and experience, we learn in our lives. And so it's this ever-changing spiritual nature of the Sagittarian archetype that we're going to be exploring and spotlighting for this entire solar month. I created a little explanation page here for you guys to show you a few different elements of the Sagittarian archetype. So you see here the symbol represented by the arrow. Next to it, we have, of course, the archetype, the archer. The planet that rules Sagittarius is the planet of Jupiter. Jupiter is all about expansion. It's all about luck. It's all about making things big and bright and energy. So the Jupiter energy is this amazing hugeness in our galaxy, in the story of the zodiac. And so it rules the Sagittarian sign because they're so very similar in their energies. The key word for Sagittarius is idealized. I would also say that the key word is truth. You can see here the constellation of Sagittarius. And again, we have the element of fire represented by the triangle, the modality of mutable, that changeable energy represented by the half circle and the dot, and the house of Sagittarius. So each zodiac sign represents or rules a house. So they go in the order of the zodiac story. So Aries is the first sign in the zodiac story, so it represents the first house. Sagittarius is the 9th sign in the zodiac story, so it rules and represents the 9th house. You can think of the planet as the what of your zodiac story, the sign as the how that what expresses, and the house as the where. So the where of the ninth house is very Sagittarian in energy. It is all about learning, travel, adventure, spirituality. It can deal with mental health. It can deal with higher learning. That is where the energy of the ninth house represents and shows up in our lives. Now, more about the houses will come through in my moon readings. The new moon in Sagittarius happens a day after this solar shift. So after you watch these videos, you definitely are going to want to watch the new moon in Sagittarius video, where we are going to be focusing on the house energies, where this new moon is showing up for us in our lives, and the advice that's coming through for the lunar phase of Sagittarius, which is going to start one day after the solar phase. All right. So for this reading, we are going to be consulting the Isis Oracle by Alana Fairchild. And if readings aren't your thing, please feel free just to watch the explanation of your energy and let yourself play with how that expresses throughout your solar month. But we can also use the cards to get more insight on how to really capitalize on this energy. The Isis Oracle wanted us to focus on freedom this solar phase. So freedom is a huge theme of the Sagittarian archetype. I haven't really talked about it yet, but it deals with this expansion. In order to be free, you have to be able to expand. In order to expand, you have to be able to be free. If you're confined, you're not able to expand and you're not free. So we're going to focus on how to get ourselves to open up to a more free way of living. That is what the Isis Oracle really wants to bring to us for this solar season of Sagittarius. So in order to focus on this freedom, the Isis Oracle is going to bring us this little poem, this little affirmation to say throughout our solar phase, to really activate within us this free expression that we are looking to embody during this Sagittarian season. This is a very, very powerful deck, and I am excited to share the medicine, the power, and the beauty and the wisdom that this deck has to offer. We have covered everything that we're going to cover here in this explanation video, and we're going to dive into our individual readings. Energy, feel free to scroll ahead to the card reading. So Mercury as a planet represents in our zodiac story our communication and our learning. The sign of Sagittarius, as we already discussed, represents mutable, adaptable, fire, spirituality. So your communication is expressing itself through changing spirituality. Your communication is adventurous, congenial, idealistic, optimistic, and intellectual. Now let's talk a little bit about the gesture hat and the word detriment. So first things first, I'm a Mercury in Sagittarius, as I said in the beginning, so I'm right here with you. Mercury in Sagittarius is said to be in detriment because the ruler of Mercury is Gemini. And Sagittarius and Gemini are on the opposite sides of the zodiac wheel. And so they form this opposing energy. It's like you're sitting across from someone at a table and you're at odds with them. So because Mercury's ruled by Gemini, when it's in Sagittarius, it's called detriment because it's in the opposite sign of its ruler. It's in opposition to the energy that rules it. So as Mercury's and Sagittarians, we have to be aware that our communication is not as easy and not as clear as we think it is or want it to be. The gesture hat represents this energy of in royal court when the ruler, represented by Gemini here, in order for the ruler to see itself, the gesture would point out the flaws of the ruler. So it's kind of like we're in this energy of like being in the flawed state, being aware of the flaws of the communication realm. That's kind of this energy that the detriment really represents. So for us, especially the Sagittarian energy in general, can be brutally honest. So when our Mercury's in Sagittarius, y'all, we struggle with when honesty is brutal and when honesty is called for. Okay? That, at least for me, let me know if this resonates. That for me is a huge struggle in my life. When to be honest, and when is my honesty brutal, and when is my honesty supportive and helpful. It's hard for me, myself, to judge that because with Mercury in this placement, I'm kind of in a detriment. I'm kind of at a loss for how to best express this energy. So for me, what I do is I go to other people. I ask other people in my life, hey, is this too honest of an expression for somebody? In a moment, it's just a judgment call. You have to feel into it. You have to know, does this feel aligned? Or am I coming from a place of wounding? Am I coming from a place of, like that's definitely a thing with the Mercury and Sagittarius. If we get angry, woo, do we use this ability to be brutally honest, to just kind of like shoot daggers at people, shoot honest little I don't know, daggers of truth at people, and it's a little rough for people to deflect that because we can hit straight to the heart. Because Sagittarius is aiming at truth, we can aim at truth with our communication, but a lot of times it's hurtful truth. So that's just something for us to be aware of. Even though we're adventurous and even though we're congenial, we can communicate, we can adapt to a situation. We're probably really good at like telling stories and getting a crowd into, a fun place. And we're very, very smart. Is also sometimes we can communicate too much and over communicate and over extend in this area. Remember, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, but it's also the planet of overindulgence. So when we overindulge in the communication realm, we can overdo it. Okay? So this is just something for us to be aware of. Cool thing about Mercury is it only ever goes one sign before or one sign after the sun sign. So if your Mercury is in Sagittarius, your sun is either in Scorpio, Sagittarius, or Capricorn. Okay? So there's a 1 in 3 chance that your sun is also in Sagittarius. And obviously there's a 1 in 3 chance that's in Scorpio or Capricorn. So it's just a cool thing about Mercury. It doesn't move very much in the zodiac story. So it's just the 3 of our sun signs that have this possibility in our chart. And that's just something cool that I like to share with you guys. I think it's cool to learn more about the movement of the planets and how they all align. So either you're communicating in alignment with your sun. So me, I have a sun in Sag. So when I communicate, I'm also communicating through the same energy that makes me shine and radiant. But if your sun's in Sagittarius, or if the sun's in Scorpio, for example, and your Mercury's in Sagittarius, it's almost like you're communicating ahead of what makes you radiant and powerful, because Sagittarius is a sign after Scorpio. So it's almost like your communication comes quicker than the things that make you shine and the gifts that you have to bring through the Scorpio archetype. So you may experience your Mercury in Sagittarius as like kind of like a lapse, like you're communicating things and then you're like, why did I say that? Because I didn't have time to really evaluate and dig deep, like you like to do as a Scorpio, into the truth of something. Or if it's in Capricorn, your Capricorn's ahead of Sagittarius in the zodiac story. So you might feel like your communication's a little lacking behind. Like something, you want something, you're going to achieve it, but being able to communicate that to people might be a little bit lagging behind in the in how you communicate it to others. So you may find that you're constantly taking action before you can really explain it to people, or you understand something before you're able to communicate it to people. You may find that that's true for you. Sagittarius is a fire sign. So when we're talking about the learning element of Mercury, Mercury likes to be in air and fire signs because they're quicker signs. So our learning happens quicker. Not everybody learns quickly. So if you know someone who takes a long time to learn something, chances are their Mercury is in a water or an earth sign, which are slower signs. But again, because it's moving so fast, sometimes it can move too fast. All right, that's enough for the Mercury and Sag energy. Let's get into our Isis reading. If you haven't already, taken a few deep breaths, called in your spiritual support team, and opened your heart to receive the guidance that's most aligned for you, I invite you to do that at this time. All right, Mercury and Sag, let's find out what you need to hear and what you need to recite and focus on to guide you to freedom for this solar season. And definitely it's going to be related to guiding your communication to freedom or learning about freedom. Show me Mercury in Sagittarius. Thank you, Isis Orb. Ooh, yeah. Scales of balance. Ancient Tantra of the soul. You are a Tantrika, an initiate on the path of divine healing of the masculine and feminine. The two sacred polarities that are universal to human experience. As these energies come into mutual respect and balance, you attain great power, presence, and healing effect in the world of the soul and in the human world of forms here on Earth. You are supported in further exploring this path now under the auspicious blessings of the beloved Isis. Wow. Okay, so the first things that are coming through for me is this is going to show us how to balance our communication by balancing the feminine and the masculine energies and archetypes. So the masculine is about doing, is about going out and achieving a vision and an aim, and the feminine is about receiving. It's about allowing everything to be all at once without needing to change or influence. And so it's the balance of that. Where are we speaking and going towards a vision, and where are we being invited to be silent and to be a witness? That's really going to help us in our communication. Is this a moment where I need to speak because there's a vision here that needs to be realized, that's asking to be realized? And when is it time for me to simply observe and just be and allow that presence of being to support the communication that's occurring? Okay, that's really what I'm feeling here, especially since I was talking about how the Mercury energy can over communicate. Like I feel like I'm actually doing with this video, ironically. So this over communication element of the Mercury can become into balance with this awareness that sometimes it's time for us to be still and witness and hold a space of being. And sometimes it's time for us to speak so that we can achieve and move towards a vision. Okay, the vision is, of course, this freedom that we're moving towards, that this advice is going to help us shift into. In order for us to be free, we need to free ourselves from the binds that we attach to ourselves when we are communicating out of balance with what is being asked for in the moment. Okay. Here is our wonderful affirmation here. And you will want to write this down. I do recommend repeating it in the morning and at night, but you do you. However it feels aligned for you to work with this affirmation, please do that. Okay, to write it down, just pause in between each little phrase here. If you turn on captions on YouTube, it might be easier to see what it is that I'm saying. The scales are balanced with perfection and masculine in divine connection. Surrender and strength, body and soul, together are loved, united and whole. I know when to act and when to rest. The scales of balance allow harmony to vest. V-E-S-T. Deep within, I am now at peace. As in balance, I effortlessly now release. I feel balance, wholeness, and vitality. As I balance and heal my divine humanity. Woo-wee! Yeah. I love that. I love that affirmation. This is my affirmation too. I'm going to have 4 affirmations because of my alignments here. I mentioned in the intro. So, balance, balance, balance here, my beautiful loves. We are aiming at freedom. The freedom in our lives will come through this harmony and balance within, knowing when to act, knowing when to rest, especially when it comes to our communications. When it's time to study and when it's time to just meditate, right? Because it also has to do with learning. There's really nothing else I can share with you here. I think I've given you everything that I have to give on this topic. I invite you to engage with me on this material. Let me know how it's resonating. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know what it is that's coming up for you as you work on embodying this. Let me know as you work with this affirmation and go through this solar phase, like check back in on the video, comment, or send me a message about how this evolves for you over this solar phase, taking us into the powerful solstice that we're going to have in December. Yeah, I'm very, very excited for you. And as always, namaste. The universal light within me salutes and honors the universal light within you. Namaste.